Hi guys, welcome back to another video and welcome to another tutorial. Now today is all about beating your defender one-on-one. So there are all different kinds of skill moves that you can use for beating a defender, and some of them look really good. It's great when you can pull them off in a game, it's entertaining for the crowd, it's very satisfying. But at the end of the day, the most effective dribbling style is the one that just gets past the defender and gets yourself in a better position to help your team out. And sometimes all that takes is a little change of direction, a little change of speed, unbalancing that defender just to create that inch of space that allows you to make your next move. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is beating our defender with speed and changing direction slightly to unbalance him. So the first thing we need to talk about is our approach to the defender. So this is where I see a lot of players getting it wrong. It's their initial approach when they're challenged 1v1 with a defender. So if you're not confident in a 1v1 situation, usually it will show in your body language. You're trying to avoid that defender at all costs, where you really need to be going directly at them. You need to force them into a decision and keep them guessing and be unpredictable. If you're showing to one side initially because you don't want to go into a 1v1 situation, all you're doing is making that defender's life very easy. You're becoming very predictable. You're showing them really early what side you want to go. So when you're approaching the defender, always go directly at them. Now I've got two options. Now it's very unpredictable. The defender has to guess which way I'm going to go, and he's going to have to show his body language to one side, and then I can expose his weak side. I'll explain more about that in just a second, but that's the number one tip with your approach. Always go directly at your defender. Step two is your speed of approach. You don't want to go slowly at the defender. You're just going to give him more time to react to what you're going to do. If you're going at him with pace, he really has to guess and think about it quickly and has to react and guess where you're going to go. So don't make his life easy. A way to do this, you want to take setup touches by nudging the ball. You'll see a lot of top level players doing this. It's taking a small, quick touch of the ball with every step, and it's moving very quickly towards them. If you take a touch with every step, some people call this the nudge, then it's just keeping that ball really close to your foot so that any given second you can change the direction of that ball. Because it's so close to your foot, you're keeping it under close control. So you'll see Messi, you'll see Robin, a lot of top level dribblers, they do this all the time. They'll go directly at their opponent, taking small touches, and they're not planning the move in their head beforehand. They're not trying to actually map out what they want to do. They're reacting to the defender's body movements. So that's step two, approaching them with speed, keeping that ball close to your foot. So the next step is what part of the foot we want to use to carry the ball. So I see a lot of players, especially when they're younger, they're really trying to use a big wide surface area because they think that's going to keep more control. But it just makes you look a bit more awkward. You're not going to be as agile. You're not going to move as freely or naturally. So you really want to get used to using the outside of your foot. Just beside, maybe just above the small toe there, you're just angling your foot down, point those toes at an angle, and you're just using that soft part of the foot just to cushion that ball with every touch, taking a light first touch of the ball with every step, and that way you can manipulate the ball and you still keep a natural rhythm with your running. Also, when you're approaching your defender, you want to lower your center of gravity because that's going to be a lot easier to accelerate once you've beaten him. So be slightly bent in your knees so that you can stay nice and low, so that when you make your move, it's a lot more explosive. You can find this out for yourself. Just test this one out. Try accelerating from an upright position and then try accelerating from a slightly lowered position. You'll feel yourself be more explosive and a lot more agile when you have a slight bend in the knee. So always lower that center of gravity as you're approaching. So now we're approaching the defender, and a good way to be unpredictable, make it even more difficult for the defender to read us, is to change direction often. Even if it's just very small movements, either do it with the ball or your body. As you're going towards him, you can slightly manipulate that ball back and forth, very small quick touches, or you can do it with your body as well. You'll see with players like Neymar, Messi, they're doing this all the time. They're either slightly manipulating that ball from side to side or their body. They're just setting themselves up, trying to move that defender's hips, unbalance him, so that when they do finally unbalance him, they can snap in the other direction and they leave him behind. Another way to remain unpredictable is to change your speed as often as possible. And this is really good for you players out there who are matched with a defender that might be a bit faster than you, a bit quicker, more athletic. If you're changing your speed all the time, even if they're faster than you, it's still going to be very difficult for them to catch you. And the way I like to think about this is imagine a sports car matched up against an average car. If you put them on the line and ask them to race 100 meters, the sports car is going to win 100 times out of 100. But if you ask the driver of the sports car to stay level with the driver of the average car, and that average car was braking, stopping, starting, it's going to be very hard for that sports car to stay level with it because it's very unpredictable with its movements. And that's the exact same scenario when you're faced one-on-one with a defender. If I'm just going the same speed, all they have to do is match me. But if I'm stopping and starting, it's just making myself more unpredictable. I'm being more unpredictable with my movements. So if I'm coming slow, fast, it's going to be very hard to read. The defender's going to have a nightmare guessing where I'm going to go. So the next point is a question that I get a lot, is where should we be looking with our eyes? Should we look at the ball directly at the ground? Should we look at the defender's feet? Should we look at the defender's hip? Should we look into the space? Where should we be looking? Now, we shouldn't look directly at the ball. If we've got our head down, we can't really see what's going on if we're focusing on that. We want to get comfortable enough so that we don't have to look at the ball. At first, when you're first starting out, you probably have to look at the ball because you've got to get used to developing that first touch with the ball, that close control with the ball. It's going to take some time for it to feel natural at your feet. And this is something that's general in life anyway. Just think of the first time that you ever used a computer and used that keyboard for the first time. You really had to look where each letter was, and it probably took you a long time to even just spell your own name. But now you're probably watching these videos, writing comments, not even looking at your keyboard because you've developed that muscle memory. You can read where it is without even having to stare at the keyboard anymore. And the exact same thing happens when you're dribbling a football. So over time, you won't even need to look at that ball anymore. The best place for you to look is peripherally in between the defender and the ball. So you'll see a lot of photographs of top-level footballers when they're dribbling against a defender. It kind of looks like they're looking in between the ball and the defender. It's kind of off into the space. And it's because they're using their peripheral vision to get a big picture, as much of the scenario into one frame as possible. So just imagine this, you're looking off into space, you're looking off into the distance here. You can still kind of see what's going on either side of you. So I can still see there's a goalpost over there. I can see there's some trees over there without having to directly look at them. And the same as when you're looking here. So if you look in between the ball and the defender, you can still see the ball and you can also see the defender. Because you want to keep that ball under control, but you want to see what the defender's doing with their hip movements as well. So that's what you should be looking for. And the key point you're looking for is the defender's hips. You want to always try and find their weak side. And basically their weak side means the opposite side to their front side. So this is my strong side for my hips and this is my weak side because you travel forwards. You travel faster forwards than you do backwards. So you want to get the ball on the defender's back side because that means the defender has to turn around and then accelerate again to catch you up. And if you're a fast player, you can get away from them, make your next move before he's even caught up to you again. So when you're dribbling, look in between the ball and the defender and you want to try and manipulate that ball either side. Do something with your body movements to try and shift the defender's hips. And once you find that moment where they've shifted their hips to one side, then find their weak side. So if the defender is shifting like this, a lot of defenders will always stay side on with you because they're not trying to get nutmegged or stay flat-footed. If they approach you like this, they've just made your job very easy. All you need to do is knock the ball past them and run because they have to do a whole 180-degree spin. So they're always trying to anticipate what side. So they'll usually go side on. And when you've put them off balance, which just means all their weight on one side, balance is when all your weight is in the center, off balance is when your weight is on one side. When you've got them on one side and off balance, their hips are facing away from you, find their weak side. So for example, if I was to cut inside, I would know that it's time to cut inside when the defender's hips are facing the outside because I know that's his weak side now. And on the other side of things, if I wanted to cut to the outside, it's when the defender's hips are on the inside of the pitch. That's when I can knock the ball towards his weak side so that I know he would have to turn all the way around to try and catch up to me again. So that's all the dribbling tips I have for you. Just to recap, so when you're approaching the defender, you want to go head on. Challenge them 1v1, be confident in your body language, go straight at them. You're going to have more options for where you can go, and you're also going to make it more difficult for them to guess where you're going to go as well. When you're actually dribbling towards them, make sure you're using small setup touches, nudging that ball, and go with pace. Don't go slowly, make sure you're going at them so you really make them panic, put them on the back foot, and you're making them try and guess which side you're going to go, and they don't have much time to think about it. The next step is when you get closer towards the defender, when you're using the outside of the foot for those nudges, you want to peripherally look in between the ball and the defender and look for their hip movements. Look what side is weak. So whatever side they're facing, the opposite side of them is going to be the weak hand side, and more chances are if you put it towards that side, you're going to have more time and space to make your next move. And the last point is always accelerate. Make sure you're changing speed. Manipulate that ball from side to side. It's going to make him guess even more. It's going to be even more difficult. And if you change speed as well, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. So when you combine all these tips together, you're really going to make a big problem for the defender trying to defend you. So this is a way that you can practice if you don't have a defender. In just a moment, I will show you a way that you can practice with a defender as well, a 1v1 setup drill, just to work on this kind of action. But let's do a few reps of this going against the poles. So that's the end of the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this one and learned something new. If you watch the top level players like Messi, Hazard, these kind of players, you'll see they don't often use a lot of moves. They're really just using these key points. Going at their defenders with pace, manipulating that ball from either side, and just trying to be unpredictable with their body movements. So make sure you apply these tips. You don't need all the showboat moves in order to beat your defender one-on-one. You just need to be deceptive. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button for weekly training videos, and I will see you guys in the next video.